Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Grey's Anatomy Season 4, Episode 8, Forever Young. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So in this episode, all of the patients except one revolve around a bus crash that happens. Students touring universities, bus crashes, and the first patient that comes in is Bailey's old acquaintance from high school named Marcus. He's a classically attractive black man who apparently she was in band, he was a footballer. Because of his sports, he couldn't do his own homework, so he had Bailey help him out with homework, tutor him, etc., etc. And she clearly had a huge crush on him and still seemingly does, though he basically just uses her, takes her for granted, etc. And she kind of regresses back to her high school self up until Han kind of calls her bad name, basically saying, like she's acting fluffy in the head, ditzy, she's not being herself. And, at the end, she kind of has a rant to Derek about how, like guys like him don't see girls like her, how she missed out on going to homecoming because he never even thought to ask her, despite all of the hours and nights and times that she spent with him while she was tutoring him, etc., etc. Derek then reveals that, he was a bit of a nerd in high school as well because he hadn't figured out hair product and hadn't filled out yet. But they have a bonding moment there. We also have a student come in who is a cheerleader, and she is very concerned about the laceration on her face. Also learn that she has broken knee, leg, and coccyx, which is basically her butt, so she broke her butt. And she, of course, is demanding the best plastic surgeon for her face because she's, well, Alex calls her a cheerleader. She says she's a pom. Sloane clarifies that cheerleaders do like the flips and acrobatics and stuff, and the poms do the dancing, is basically what he describes. So she's like a dancer. Um, and then there's also a student who comes in with a pencil in his eye, and while the pencil is there, he is fine. But in surgery, when the pencil is removed, the artery breaks, the brain swells because there's nowhere for the brain to go. He unfortunately ends up brain dead and in a coma for the rest of his life. And Derek is told that he has to tell the family first, but decides to go against that and tell the best friend because the best friend was very codependent with him and is now left without any friends because they were the two outcasts who were outcast together. And then we have the last patient, which is Thatcher. So Thatcher comes in, he has a laceration because he tried to punch a window, and he's very charming and nice because he's in the good phase of his drunkenness. And Meredith then, you know, has a good time with him because, well, not good time with him, that's wrong. Basically, Alex is sent to get Lexi. Lexi blows him off. He then gets Meredith. Meredith comes over and, he's very complimentary towards her, says he's proud, is basically like the loving father that she did not have towards her. And, at the end, she's like, oh, and he lies that it was Susan's birthday, even though she apparently was born in March and says that every day. Basically, she goes to Lexi and tells her that, like, I know it's a sad day, but Thatcher's a bit inebriated, maybe keep a better eye on him. And then Lexi goes on a rant about how this is every day and, you know, gives all of the different things that he said to Meredith that he said to her before, and that sometimes, he can get mean, after 7, after 9 drinks, so on and so forth. And basically, this is Meredith finding out that Thatcher is now an alcoholic. Christina finally is allowed on Han's service, And she at first is acting like a brown noser. Han is getting annoyed. She's then told by Bailey to take a step back because, if she annoys Han, she's not going to get another chance. So she holds herself back, which is very difficult, and finally gets paged by Han and is able to help her. And it is a step in the right direction. Hopefully, it will continue that way. Um, Bailey settling into her new job, but of course, has her bit of a focusing on the Marcus of it all in the episode. George and Izzy aren't talking, but at the end of the episode, they both agree that they want their best friend back. Derek is still sleeping with Meredith, but he did go on a date with Sydney Heron at the start of the episode, and he does meet Rose, who would later go on to be Mick Rebound, who is the nurse that Derek will have a relationship with for the remainder of this season. And they have their meet cute moment in this episode. So I think that's everything that happened that was of importance. So now that we've been reminded what happened in the episode, time to rank the episode. First on the mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. And we have our single episode supporting character introductions. We have Marcus. Danny Metcalf is the character that ends up dying and kind of in duel with him. Basically, I'm counting them both under the same point, is his best friend Marissa, and then Trisha Hale is the cheerleader who broke her butt. That's 3 points so far. We then have the multi-episode supporting character introduction worth 2 points, which is Nurse Rose. Now, to be technical, she does appear in one singular episode, the first episode of season 5, so she could be considered multi-season, but similar to some other characters, if they're very heavily in one season and then they only have like one, maybe 2 episodes outside of that season, I'm still just going to count them as a multi-episode supporting character because I'm saving like multi-season supporting characters for people who have multiple episodes across multiple seasons. So I am just counting her as a multi-episode supporting character introduction, but for transparency's sake, she is in one singular episode after season 4, which is the first one of season 5. And then never seen again. So then we have our multi-season supporting character development, which is Thatcher coming into the hospital with a laceration on his hand from punching a window, and his alcoholism is then revealed to Richard and Meredith and basically anybody else who was in the ER at the time, because he was getting quite loud and demanding to see his daughter. But he didn't specify which one, and didn't seem to bother him that it was Meredith, even though the last time he had seen her, he was being very rude. Then we have the character. Okay, and those are the positives. I did not count the while Derek meets Rose in this episode, they share eye contact, but there isn't any sort of relationship starting. It's just like them meeting for the first time or him noticing her for the first time. So I didn't give points for that. But it should be noted that she is going to be his love interest in the next few episodes. Negatives of this episode, we had the character regression of Bailey, which was worth -1 point. And that was again because she kind of lost her head a bit as it pertained to Marcus, kind of returning to that Marcus pleasing band geek tutor that she was in high school rather than the strong, confident, very intelligent, and very in control Bailey that we know and love in the series. Then we got the negative messaging or behavior, which Derek is explicitly told by Richard that the family needs to know about their son first. So even though the best friend is there and wants information and is his best friend, he needs to wait for the family to arrive. However, when the friend approaches and like when Marissa approaches Derek and basically is like, he's all I have in the world, like he's my best friend, he's my only friend, his parents aren't going to get here for a few hours, can I at least see him? He then sits her down and tells her, which is specifically against the orders and the protocol. And I don't know if they're could, like, I don't know how it would work if it's just like a policy or if it's actually like a legal thing that the family needed to be notified first. But he was explicitly told in the episode no, and then did it anyways, um, which I think is not a good thing. So I took 2 points for that. It does ultimately leave this episode at a 5 out of 10. And that brings our mostly objective ranking to in first. A change is going to come. Physical attraction, chemical reaction, kung fu fighting, love/addiction, haunt you every day. This episode comes in sixth place, Forever Young, followed by Let the Truth Sting and The Heart of the Matter in last place. Personal ranking for this episode. I liked the episode. I like, I've said this before in many episodes. I like when a lot of the patients have a connection to a specific event. I like that cohesiveness in the plot. I did find it funny that there was a bunch of teenagers running around, some of whom were gossiping. Sloane was told by one that he looks just like their dad, which of course was a big blow to his ego. Um, Derek and Rose have their meeting, like their first meeting, foreshadowing his stepping away from Meredith for a while, though, again, Meredith and him are endgame, so it's doomed to fail from the start, so it's not really worth getting attached to, which is unfortunate, though at the time that it originally aired, probably people didn't know that necessarily. They probably still could have sensed it. Either way, I do like that they are meeting, and she does seem a lot more mature than Meredith, so um, like personality wise, more mature than Meredith, so I definitely can see them getting along well. And even as Derek is like taking Meredith home from the bar at the end of the episode, he's, making eye contact and nodding to Rose, who's like raising her drink to him. So they're having that like eye contact moment over Meredith's shoulder, which is foreshadowing again. Han is not as unbearable anymore because, I was getting really annoyed with her not doing her job properly. Like, I know that she's meant to be like the strong female girl boss type character, and she does come off that way, and that's not bad in my opinion, but the fact that she was refusing to do her job because of, again, something that happened in Christina's personal life. It's not her professional life. So to judge her professionally based on that, I think is just in very poor taste. So the fact that, she's at least now Christina's able to get back on the cardio service is a step in the right direction, which I was happy to see. Izzy and George still don't care about them, though I do like that they are seemingly going back to being friends, which is good. At least that's what's implied at the end of the episode, that they want their best friend back. Um, Alex and Lexi aren't in a relationship, but, she does get mad at him, and he basically tells her, I'm not doing this high school, don't tell Meredith thing. He's not getting in the middle of them, but he does reveal about his dad again, which we already knew. That's why it didn't count as development. And that, like, then she feels a little bit bad because here she thought, like her dad being an alcoholic was super embarrassing. He's like, my dad was one. I had to clean up after him at 7. At least you got to wait till 24. And, then she starts to feel a bit bad about it. Overall, like, I thought that the dramas were more mild in this episode, but ultimately, I did like the episode. Sydney and Derek aren't really worth mentioning because like it was a date and then she breaks up with him at the end, even though he was planning to break up with her. So I thought that was funny too. That was a good moment. Ultimately, like I felt like there was nothing really supremely negative about it. Like even with the Derek thing, it's like because he was explicitly told, I took the objective points. But at the same time, like had he not like explicitly been told by Richard, don't tell Marissa, I would have expected him to tell her because of the strength of the relationship she had with Danny. So I'm kind of like, personally, I forgive it, but at the same time, I'm like, he was told not to, so it still had to take points. Overall, mild drama, but good drama, like entertaining drama. Um, Nothing super negative. Some of the negatives that had been bothering me in past episodes were addressed, like with the Han situation. So I decided to give it a 7 because it's not the best episode. I like it. It wasn't as entertaining as some others. It was a little bit boring, but overall, I think it was a nice breather from some of the more heavy-handed drama, and like I said, some of the issues I had are being resolved, and now I'm starting to kind of circular think and talk, so we're going to move on to the ranking. As I mentioned, 7 out of 10, which brings our list to physical attraction, chemical reaction in first, followed by A Change Is Gonna Come, Haunt You Every Day, Love/Addiction. 5 is Forever Young, which is this episode, then Let the Truth Sting, Kung Fu Fighting, and in last place, The Heart of the Matter. Bringing us to the series ranking so far, mostly objective ranking. In first, we have Season 1, followed by Season 2, then Season 3. Season 4 has a score of 50 out of 150. Personal ranking, exact opposite. Season 3, followed by Season 2, then Season 1 in third. Season 4 so far, a score of 55 out of 150. With that, we have now rewatched and ranked Grey's Anatomy Season 4, Episode 8, Forever Young. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.